The mariachi band in the corner of the country club ballroom stopped mid-song, their instruments falling silent as 47 family members turned to stare at my phone. The Forbes reporter's voice carried clearly across the elaborately decorated space where my grandfather's 90th birthday celebration had just transformed into something far more dramatic than anyone had planned. "We're finalizing your cover story for next month's issue," the reporter continued, completely unaware that she had just detonated a conversational bomb in the middle of the Rivera family gathering. "Our readers are fascinated by your journey from startup founder to billionaire. The acquisition by Microsoft has everyone talking about the future of artificial intelligence in healthcare." My cousin Miguel stood frozen beside the champagne fountain, his mouth hanging open like a fish gasping for air. 2 minutes earlier he had been holding court near the gift table, regaling anyone who would listen with stories of his latest promotion to regional sales manager while making pointed comments about my failure to launch and my modest lifestyle choices. "Billion-dollar exit?" my Aunt Rosa whispered, her voice barely audible over the sudden silence. I smiled at the assembled family members, many of whom were seeing me clearly for the first time in years. "Thank you for calling, Jennifer. I'm happy to do the interview, but I'm currently at my grandfather's birthday party. Could we schedule something for tomorrow?" "Of course, Ms. Rivera. Congratulations again on building something truly revolutionary. The medical community is calling your AI diagnostic platform the biggest breakthrough in early disease detection in decades." After ending the call, I slipped my phone back into my purse and looked around at faces that registered everything from shock to confusion to something that might have been respect. The woman they had been treating as the family disappointment for the past 5 years had just been revealed as a billionaire whose work was apparently changing the world. "Sophia," my grandfather said quietly from his seat at the head table, his weathered face breaking into the first genuine smile I'd seen from him all evening, "is this true? You sold your company for $1 billion. $1.3 billion actually," I confirmed, taking a sip of my sparkling water as if discussing 10-figure business deals was a regular part of family gatherings. "Microsoft acquired MedAI Solutions last week. The technology we developed can detect cancer, heart disease, and neurological disorders from medical imaging with 96% accuracy." The explanation was met with the kind of stunned silence typically reserved for natural disasters or lottery announcements. Miguel, who had spent the entire appetizer course explaining why I needed to get serious about my career and stop playing with computers, now looked like someone had told him that gravity was optional. $1.3 billion, my cousin Carmen repeated slowly as if testing the words in a foreign language. "That's the acquisition price," I clarified. "My personal share was approximately $860 million after taxes and employee bonuses. The technology is being integrated into Microsoft's healthcare division to make advanced diagnostic capabilities available globally." What I didn't mention was that this exit was just the culmination of 7 years of 18-hour days, countless rejections from investors who didn't understand the market opportunity, and a level of technical innovation that had required assembling a team of the world's best AI researchers and medical professionals. My phone buzzed with a text from my business manager. "Sophia, Goldman Sachs wants to discuss your next venture. Also, the Mayo Clinic partnership is confirmed. Congratulations on changing the world." I turned the phone so my family could see the message. "Goldman Sachs handles my investment portfolio. The Mayo Clinic is implementing our technology to improve diagnostic accuracy for their most complex cases." "Goldman Sachs," my uncle Roberto said faintly, his voice carrying the same reverence typically reserved for religious figures. "They manage my post-exit investments," I explained. "Diversified portfolio focusing on healthcare technology, renewable energy, and educational initiatives. The goal is to build sustainable wealth while funding research that improves people's lives." My cousin Miguel finally found his voice, though it came out much smaller than the confident tone he'd been using to lecture me about career planning. "Sophia, if you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, why do you live in that tiny apartment downtown?" "Because it's 2 blocks from my office and I enjoy urban conveniences," I replied. "Why do you live in that suburban mansion if you're always complaining about the mortgage payments?" The question seemed to stump him. Miguel had been using his expensive house and luxury car as evidence of his superior life choices, never considering that someone might choose simplicity over status symbols. "But you drive a Honda Civic," my cousin Elena pointed out, as if my car choice somehow invalidated the business success. A 2019 Honda Civic Hybrid, I corrected. It's reliable, environmentally responsible, and gets excellent gas mileage. I've never understood the logic of spending six figures on a car that depreciates rapidly when those resources could be invested in something productive. My phone rang again, this time with a call from the Stanford School of Medicine. I had been expecting this call. They were finalizing details for the research partnership that would establish the Rivera Center for AI Medical Diagnostics. Dr. Martinez speaking, I answered, putting the call on speaker. Sophia, thank you for taking my call during your family celebration. The board has unanimously approved the $30 million gift to establish the research center. We're honored to partner with you on advancing AI applications in medical diagnosis. It's my pleasure, Dr. Martinez. Early disease detection saves lives, and Stanford's research capabilities will help us reach that goal faster. The center will bear your name, of course. The Rivera Center for AI Medical Diagnostics will be a testament to your vision and generosity. After ending the call, I looked around the table at faces that showed everything from awe to embarrassment to genuine pride. $30 million, my mother said softly, speaking for the first time since the Forbes call. Sophia, you're donating $30 million to Stanford? I'm investing in research that will save lives, I corrected. The technology we developed at MedAI was just the beginning. There's so much more we can accomplish with proper funding and institutional support. What I didn't explain was that this donation represented less than 4% of my net worth. A strategic investment in advancing medical technology while supporting the institution where I had first developed my interest in healthcare applications of artificial intelligence. My grandfather stood up slowly, his cane tapping against the marble floor as he approached my chair. At 90 years old, he had seen the family grow from immigrant laborers to middle-class professionals, but he had never imagined that one of his granddaughters would become a billionaire philanthropist. Mija, he said quietly, placing his weathered hand on my shoulder, tell me about your work. Really tell me. What does this technology do? For the next 20 minutes, I explained how our AI system could analyze medical images, X-rays, MRIs, CT scans, and identify signs of disease that human doctors might miss. I described how early detection dramatically improves survival rates for cancer patients, how our technology could provide world-class diagnostic capabilities to rural hospitals, and how we were working to eliminate healthcare disparities based on geography or economic status. You're saving lives, my grandfather said when I finished, tears glistening in his eyes. We're helping doctors save lives more effectively, I corrected. The technology doesn't replace physicians. It gives them better tools to protect their patients. My cousin Miguel, who had been quietly listening to this explanation, finally spoke up. Sophia, why didn't you tell us about any of this? About your company, your success, your impact. When? I asked. During the family reunion where you suggested I was wasting my MIT education on computer games? Or perhaps during Christmas dinner when you explained that I needed to get realistic about my career prospects. The memory of those conversations still stung. For years, my family had treated my work in artificial intelligence as an amusing hobby that would eventually require abandonment in favor of a real career, in something more traditional and understandable. But we never saw any signs of success, my Aunt Rosa protested. No expensive clothes, no luxury car, no mansion. You saw exactly what I wanted you to see, I replied. I learned early that people treat you differently when they know you have money. I wanted to know who would support my work and respect my choices when they thought I was just a struggling entrepreneur. This was partially true, though the complete truth was more complex. During the first 3 years of building MedAI, I genuinely had been struggling financially, living on ramen noodles and sleeping on an air mattress while pouring every available resource into research and development. But even after the company became profitable, I had continued living modestly because I enjoyed my simple lifestyle and because I wanted to focus on innovation rather than consumption. My phone buzzed with another call, this time from the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. I declined it but showed the caller ID to my family. The President's science advisors want to discuss healthcare technology policy, I explained. The administration is interested in making AI diagnostics more widely available through Medicare and Medicaid. The White House, my cousin Carmen whispered, her voice filled with the same awe she typically reserved for celebrity sightings. "Healthcare policy affects millions of people," I replied. "If we can make advanced diagnostic technology accessible to everyone, regardless of their insurance or economic status, we can save thousands of lives annually." Over the next hour, as the mariachi band resumed playing and relatives began approaching me with a mixture of curiosity and apology, the conversation gradually shifted from shock and embarrassment to genuine interest in my work. My uncle Roberto asked thoughtful questions about AI technology. My cousin Elena wanted to understand how machine learning could improve medical diagnosis. Even Miguel, despite his earlier condescension, inquired about career opportunities in healthcare technology. "Sophia," my mother said as we were cutting the birthday cake, "I owe you an apology. We've been treating you like you needed our guidance when you were actually building something extraordinary." "Mom, I don't need an apology for your concern," I replied. "But I do need you to trust that I'm capable of making good decisions about my life and career." "We can see that now," she said, glancing around the room where family members were engaged in animated discussions about artificial intelligence, medical technology, and social impact. "You've accomplished more than any of us imagined." My grandfather requested a private moment with me as the party wound down. We stepped onto the country club's terrace, where the lights of the city sparkled below us like earthbound stars. "Sophia," he said quietly, "when I came to this country 70 years ago, I had nothing but hope and determination. I worked in factories, saved every penny, and dreamed that my children and grandchildren would have opportunities one never had. You gave us those opportunities, Abuelo. But I never dreamed that one of my granddaughters would become so successful that she could change the world. You've honored our family's sacrifices by building something that will help people for generations to come." It was the most meaningful praise I had ever received, more valuable than any business recognition or media coverage. "The money is wonderful," he continued, "but what makes me proudest is that you're using your success to help others. That's what real wealth means, the ability to make life better for people you'll never meet." 6 months later, my family attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Rivera Center for AI Medical Diagnostics at Stanford. Miguel, who had completed a career transition into healthcare technology sales, introduced me to his colleagues as my brilliant cousin who's revolutionizing medicine. Carmen started a scholarship program for young women pursuing STEM degrees, funded through my foundation. But the real victory wasn't my family's newfound respect or even the successful technology transfer to Microsoft. It was the knowledge that our AI system was already being used in hospitals across the country, catching diseases earlier and saving lives that might otherwise have been lost. The first patient whose life was saved by our technology was a 7-year-old girl in rural Montana whose local hospital used our AI to detect a brain tumor that traditional imaging had missed. She received treatment immediately and made a full recovery. Sometimes the most important validation doesn't come from magazine covers or family recognition. It comes from knowing that your work matters, that your choices were right, and that you've built something that will continue improving lives long after the celebrations end. At my grandfather's 91st birthday party the following year, there were no surprised gasps or shocked silences. Instead, there were updates on the Rivera Center's research progress, discussions about my next technology venture, and stories about the patients whose lives had been improved by the diagnostic tools we had developed. Miguel gave a toast that night, speaking about family pride and the importance of supporting each other's dreams even when we don't understand them. It was a different family than the one that had dismissed my work just 12 months earlier, not because money had changed their values, but because success had forced them to reconsider their assumptions about what constituted meaningful achievement. Sometimes the sweetest moment isn't when your family finally sees your worth. It's when you realize that your worth was never dependent on their recognition in the first place.